record. So good morning, everybody, and welcome to Self-Sufficiency 101. My name is Christina, and I am the host for today. I am also the speaker for today. So first thing I'm going to do is take off my host hat, and I'm going to be the speaker. I felt it was important to do a series on self-sufficiency, and I felt that probably the easiest and important thing for me to do is to lead first. So that's something that I decided to do. So in leading, first thing I'm going to do is actually unblur my background because this is me and I usually blur it when I'm doing everything else professionally. So we are a homeschooling family so here we have the alphabet and my son's artwork behind me that he has had there for 6 months and will not let me erase. And we have our Georgia standards of education over here so that we stay in line with where he's at in 2nd grade. And all of this is kind of part of being self-sufficient. So I figured it was probably an appropriate background for today. We homeschool. I work 15 hours or 20 hours a week with Atlantic Institute. I'm also a birth doula. My significant other is a mechanic, and we also do some deer processing for ourselves. We're hunters and fishermen, I guess you could say. We do a lot of our own building work here. Whatever needs to be done or fixed, we do. We have chickens, ducks, and rabbits. We have dogs, and we have one bearded dragon that smells the worst out of all the animals combined. So if you guys could drop in the chat real quick and tell me what level of self-sufficiency, and here, let me share my screen real quick because I want to define what we're doing is understanding self-sufficiency. So the definition of self-sufficiency is a quality or state of being able to provide everything you need, especially food, without the help of other people or countries. So it's a sense of inner completeness and stability that make you feel secure and content with yourself. So a self-sufficient person or organization can maintain their needs indefinitely without depending on others. Okay, so nowadays, attaining this goal of being completely self-sufficient is not out of reach, but there's a lot to it. You can go as far as living completely off grid, but there's still some reliance on people and things around you. All right. So homesteading is one of the ways it's a lifestyle of self-sufficiency. So it involves living on a dwelling with land, buildings. Homesteaders may grow their own food, preserve it, produce other goods for their own use or sale, and homesteading may also offer some legal protection from debt. All right, so most of what we will be learning about this year is a homesteading type of self-sufficiency. I have somebody that's going to come on and teach us about growing fruit trees, what fruit trees are appropriate for your area, how to grow them well, how to making your land or your space that you have produce for you is very important. All right. So it's all about learning on that. So how did homesteading come about? Was an interesting thing to look at. In the early 1600s, we talk about hundreds of colonists crossed the ocean to settle here in the New World. Right? They arrived with just a few tools, seeds, and the drive to carve out a new life. Now, I will tell you, when you live a homesteading lifestyle like this, it brings you very much so back to these pioneer days. There are many times that I'm in the kitchen cooking and I look over and I see the fire from the wood stove is getting low or going out, and I'm going over there and I'm shoveling it out and cleaning it and adding more wood and getting the fire going and going back to cooking. And I think these women back then were built extremely tough, and I give them a heck of a lot of credit. All right. So then we had the Homestead Act, and that allowed people to have 160 acres of public land. They had to pay a registration fee, and then they needed to build a home, live on the land, and farm it. So that created a lot of the farming lifestyles that we have today. All right. So there's a lot of information that you can look into when it comes to homesteading and becoming self-sufficient. All right, so if you guys could drop in the chat for a second, I just wanted to find out what level of any of this you are currently. So if you have never done anything and you're looking into, you want to, that's great. Put that in the chat. If you do a little bit of stuff, like if you bake bread, if you trade services for goods with others, if you anything like that, go ahead and drop it in the chat. If you have chickens and if you farm and if you grow a garden, drop that in the chat because I'd love to know. Or if you don't want to drop stuff in the chat, you can also unmute yourself and just go ahead and speak because there is 3, 6, there's like 9, 10 of us on here there that can go ahead and share, or really I guess 12 if you want to count me. So a life of self-sufficiency is not something that I ever thought that I would be involved in, but I've kind of fallen into it. So I'm going to go ahead and jump to sharing pictures. I was going to walk around, but I will tell you it is freezing cold outside and windy. And also, when you live in the country and you are self-sufficient, the internet does not always work well when you leave the distance of your router. So I do know that once I get out to the chicken coop, I don't really have signal and it doesn't work well. So I figured I spent 3 days digging through pictures, and apparently I do take a lot of pictures of this stuff. So so great, Beth, you summer garden, home baking bread. And so let me just go by the level of baking bread is I have not stepped into sourdough yet. I really would like to, but I have not stepped into that level of homesteading yet because I feel like that's taking on a whole other project. So Donna, basically cook from scratch, keep a stocked pantry, and wondering how self-sufficient one can be in a suburban environment with a small yard and grow herbs. So I have a friend that has not picked a date yet, but she lives in Greenville, South Carolina, and she has a wonderful little homestead, we'll say, right in the suburban area. And she is like really good at what she does. And so I have her coming on to show some of that because there are a lot of people that have this yearning desire to homestead and to be self-sufficient, but they don't know how to make that work in a suburban environment or in an apartment or anything like that. So oh, awesome. Still in new. Okay, so Adam, done some gardening, canning, and baking bread. Also have some experience with raising chickens. Awesome. I'm at your level, probably, Adam. All right, Julie, still a newbie, but lifelong. Fruit and veggie gardener, bread and pasta maker. Great pasta, fresh pasta. Canning and dehydrating, building a print library just in case electricity goes down. Yep, learning DIY home repairs too. Awesome. Okay, so there's building a print library is something that I know a lot of people have started to do here lately as well. And then learning your DIY home repairs. There is a group, Julie, I don't know if you're in it on Facebook, it's called Handy Women. It's a really great group to be in if you're not in it. And they do all sorts of DIY home repairs. So I just want to recommend that to you. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start sharing. And I am going to just talk because I did my best, as you can see here, to organize things into categories just so that I could keep my life straight for you guys. All right, so first thing I will do is show you this. I found this. I thought this was cool. So this is what was given out many, many years ago as a victory garden for a family of 5. And this is what it was like recommended that you plant to be self-sufficient, to have enough vegetables, to have enough everything as a family of 5 by the government. This is something that they sent out. This is back during the times when it was said you could have 2 chickens or 3 chickens, whatever, for every backyard, so everybody had eggs. There was a time that we were encouraged to be self-sufficient. And now we are more reliant. And I think they say grocery stores can feed the area for like 3 days without any without any restocking, and I think we've all seen what happened when COVID happened and people were in grocery stores and you just kind of had to learn how to make a meal out of whatever the heck the store had. So I think that's kind of what's pushed a lot of people towards becoming a little bit more self-sufficient, to know that they have things on their shelves. And so this I thought was kind of neat to take a look at, to see like this is the things we were encouraged to have years ago. All right. So I am going to jump into garden. Let's go garden first. All right. So we started our gardening stuff during COVID time. We started with some pots outside. The year after that, we tilled up the land and we planted all sorts of vegetables out here in the land. We learned quickly that watering was not an easy task. We used a sprinkler waterer that would spin around and around, and we learned that that gave a lot of the vegetables got blight, or like tomato plants and certain things, that's actually not good for them to have water from the top. So now we use soaker hoses through our garden. So soaker hoses are a good thing that you might want to get if you're going to want to garden stuff, because we learned soaker hoses actually help a lot. All right, so I put pictures in categories, but I did not get to sit and relabel them. So there's some of the lettuce that we had growing. It grew really well. Here in Georgia, you put down straw. I don't know about you any other places, but you put down some straw once you put down your seeds. These we grew from seeds. So you put down straw after that, and it helps keep the ground, because the ground here in Georgia is like red clay. So it tends to be very light and fly off. Oh, you can't see my pictures. Thank you. All right, hold on. Oh, this is gonna suck. All right, so you can see all of that. Thank you, Marina. Let me see. So you can see those, but you can't see them close. So I'm gonna do like that. So you can see them bigger then, right? Right, Marina, you can see those bigger? I won't be able to click on them individually. Yeah, okay. No, if I double click them, hold on, that brings up a bigger window, but that's a different window in the share screen and you can't see that, right? You're still looking at, yeah, so I can't do that. It didn't see it. Okay, so the log, you couldn't see that either. All right, so I'm gonna just point these out. So this is our garden. So we did this type of garden for a year, and it worked out okay, but grass drove me insane. You can see all the grass and all the stuff in between, and it was just not an easy thing. I learned what a scuffle hoe was. I didn't know that there was a tool called a scuffle hoe, or at least that is what it's called here in Georgia. And we were out there pulling grass up left and right. So what we did last year was and the year before was a raised bed like this. So we went smaller and we raised up some beds, put dirt in, and that's basically just to help keep the weeds out. So this is my son, Liam, and he was helping in the garden, and this was picking some strawberries. This was our zucchini plants and squash plants after we planted them, and they grew huge. I forgot how big they grow. This is an archway I did over 2 beds to make room in here for cucumbers to grow. All right, and then, so this is one of the yields that we got from our garden. So at one time, with all the tomatoes and peppers and different things like that, I successfully grew 2 potatoes. Yes, we can survive for a whole winter on 2 potatoes over here. This was cute. I thought this was cute. This was broccoli. This was during the winter when it snowed a couple years ago, and the broccoli was still out there in the garden growing. And so we were eating frozen broccoli. This is another picture here of our garden. And this is what we did this year, this year we put down the black tart paper and did that and grew our plants through that. All right. This is another picture of the girls out in the garden, like 7 in the morning. They love when I wake them up like that. We have wild blackberries here. So this is wild blackberries that we've picked to eat. This is the blackberry bushes over here. This is our strawberries yield that we have. Amazingly, I've kept the strawberries planted. This is the strawberry plants over here on the right. and I just leave that box completely alone. And every year it regrows strawberries. I was curious if they would come back every year, and they actually have. So it's been kind of cool that they actually do that. So we regrow the strawberries, and you can see the hoses that we have run through it. I think you can see over here the soaker hoses that we have that run through it. And I find we have a well over here, so we have to really make sure we conserve the water and pay attention to our water usage. So having the soaker hoses really do help with keeping our water usage down and utilizing the most water for the area. All right. We are surrounded by fields. We're in an agricultural area. So this is us picking up some corn from the cornfields. We have some friends that have cornfields, so they said we could go ahead and go get some corn. And so what we do is we get about 200 ears of corn. And then as a family all together, we sit and we slice all the corn off of it. We bag this all up and we freeze it for the winter. I could can this, but in the canning groups that I'm in, the consensus has been that frozen corn tasted better than canned corn. And canning, I will tell you, is a lot of work. This was much easier for us to make up trays of this and then bag it and stick it in the freezer. So our corn gets rationed throughout the year so that so it makes the whole year. So a meal has to be corn worthy. All right, this was my son a couple years ago. This was our attempt at growing some carrots. I think this was the first year. So this was our COVID year when we did this in 2020. And I grew them in these little planters back here. And then afterwards, I learned that carrots have to be grown. I think I grew them in some kind of planter. And then I learned that carrots have to be grown in the ground, and you need to soften up the ground because they need to be enough, and they need to grow long enough so that you get nice long carrots. This is the reaction to the zucchini right here. This is one of our favorite little pictures. We have some planter boxes around here for certain things. So this year I planted some lettuce in there to grow. Part of homesteading is you make stuff out of things that you have. So this is actually a planter box made out of a truck bed liner with the end cut and pulled up. So this is like the back of the truck and the sides, and then this would be the liner, the bottom of it, and it was actually pulled up. And we have 1x1s or 2x2s over here, and we have it screwed in there together, holding it all together. Don't ask me. I mean, it's just, you come up with things. You come up and you create things. This is the garden at the end of this year. So we did have quite a bit of weeds that still came up through it, but not as much as before. And then this was the strawberries, some of the strawberries that we got. So with the strawberries that we got, we did make some strawberry jam and stuff like that. So I am not a great gardener, but it has been great to learn. My advice to you is start now, because you see 2 potatoes, it takes a while to get the hang of it and to learn. And the important thing is year after year, you'll make mistakes and you'll learn from them, and you'll talk to people and you'll learn from them and their mistakes. So like we went from having a big tract area of a garden to downsizing it to this being enough to grow from. So from gardening, okay, so let me just see what you have here. And now, oh, you didn't see the Victory Garden recommendation. I'm gonna go, gotta go check on some cooking. Beth, I'm gonna put that back on there because I didn't realize that wasn't sharing. So when would be the best time to till? I heard right after the first freeze. So Edward, I'm gonna tell you, I think the sooner sometimes you work your soil, the better, because I think sometimes going out there and tilling once or twice, or is actually a good thing. And I don't think you want to wait too far after the first freeze, or I just think it's actually like here, it all depends on your soil. So here in Georgia, we have red clay soil. And so you want to till and work the soil a bit, because you want to give the stuff you're putting in there time to decompose, time to turn from what it needs to into nitrogen. You want to give a lot of time for stuff. to happen. All right, so Julie said, although inflation wouldn't normally be on the emergency situation list, I'm glad the pantry was fully stocked in advance. Who wants to buy 7? Yeah, 7 for house label butter. So, okay, so I will tell you, I did a grocery clipping coupon. I did a coupon conversation, and it's saved in our YouTube somewhere. And people have to learn to shop to stock versus shopping to eat that week. So it's like a mind shift of learning how to shop when you see things on sale, buying them and then stocking your pantry up with them. We did really well. And lately here, I've noticed we've gotten kind of low. I just cleaned out the pantry and cleaned out stuff. And I noticed, oof, I don't have as much as I used to have. And it's time for me to I must not have been stocking, for a bit. So it's important to learn to shift your thinking of shopping to stock, versus shopping to eat that week. Like many people go to the grocery store and they only buy what they're going to eat for that week, and they don't build up an inventory. So building up an inventory of food is really important. All right, so let's go back to here. Let me jump to canning, because of course after you have all that food, you want to can. Oh, wait, you're not going to be able to see that bigger picture. So let me make the view extra large. So this is all of us in the kitchen. This is canning takes a team effort. Many times it takes a team effort. So this is all of us in the kitchen, me and my 20-year-old Michaela and my now 16-year-old Marina, all of us doing tomatoes. All right, so we have I don't have pictures of tomatoes. That must have been a while ago. But we have canned tomatoes. We have canned tomato sauce. My favorite thing, I think, and easiest thing is we get the tomatoes. I grow Roma tomatoes the most because those you can can with the skin on. And so we get those, we cut them up, and we put them in jars. And then we can those. We add our liquids to it, and then we can. And those seem to be the easiest, and I actually kind of like having whole tomato chunks. I've made pasta sauce too before, and sometimes that tends to be a little, a lot more to it. Oh, I was just trying to get rid of that thing popping up. Let me just see. Yes. And Beth is saying, as a beginner gardener, I recommend starting by finding a place with easy water access and excellent sunlight. Yes, that limits small garden in your suburban home. Yes, that limits me to a small garden in my suburban home. Yes. Donna said, is canning preferred to freezing due to freezer dependence on electricity? Yes, many times canning is preferred because then there's not the reliance on electric. All right, so there's a lot of people that do can a lot of things. I'm in a couple of canning rebel groups, I will say, just because, there's only certain things that can be water bath canned, and there's certain things that can be pressure canned. All right. And the understanding from a lot of people, right? Can you guys, Beth, can you give me a thumbs up? Can you see my pictures again? I put the pictures back up. Can you see those?
Oh, I can see the photographs.
The photographs. Okay. Because when you screen share, sometimes it only will screen share certain screens. So I
Yeah.
just want to make sure. Yeah. So I belong to a canning rebel group on Facebook, and it's more designed for people to understand that not pressure canners were not invented until a certain time frame, and that you can water bath can many things or all things, but I will tell you that some of those things that you might water bath can might have to be water bath can for like 90 minutes or 120 minutes or some like insane amount of minutes in order to make sure that any bacteria and anything is preserved or killed off, and so that you're not the botulism, you're not killing anybody with your canning food. So you do want to pay attention to that. There are rules about canning. So we have done a lot of pickles, a lot of bread and butter pickles. Back these jars right back here, we did apples. We made apple pie filling because we went to Skytop Orchard and we picked a lot of apples. And so we made up jars of apple pie filling so that we could make pie quick if we needed to. So we canned our blackberries, our wild blackberries that we found that we got picked out in the yard. We canned those. And then this over here on the right is fig. We canned figs that we have a fig tree growing out in the yard. So figs, and I think I took strawberries. I took fresh strawberries and I crushed them all up in here and we made fig jam. So this last picture on the right is fig jam. This picture on the top, I stuck in the canning. This is pork fat. And a lot of times you learn how to render down your pork fat. And you learn how to render down your fat. You put in a crock pot on low for 24 hours. And then you strain it and you render it down and you put it in some sterilized jars. And then you can keep pork fat. And you can use that to cook with. And you can use that to preserve with. You can use that for many uses. I have pork fat that I have rendered down like this. And I've also rendered down deer fat. Because deer tallow is something that is also can be used for various uses. All right, and then I put this loaf of bread in here because we have baked bread, and I do cheat and we do use a bread machine because we are quite busy and I wear a lot of hats and I don't have the time to bake fresh loaves. My mother was convinced, she taught us, she had a little old lady from our church come over when we were growing up and she taught us how to bake fresh bread from scratch. So I do know how to do it, and I've always swore that I would never have a bread machine, but I've had to resign myself to getting a bread machine and using a bread machine. But I do like that we do get fresh bread. So I can use fresh bread with our jam and have a sandwich of everything that was like from, minus the bread flour that came from the store, because I don't do that yet. There are people, when you delve deeper into being self-sufficient, you can get wheat berries and you can get a mill and you can mill your own wheat. All right. But that's a little bit more expensive of a process. And some of us have kids and busy family lives and just don't have time for that. So you have to learn to resign that you do what you need to do. All right. You can't do it all. All right, so let me, I'll pull that back up when I can. When I get back to wanting to share, I'm going to jump over here into deer. So we are in, this weekend is the last weekend of hunting season. So one of the things that we do here is hunt. And so so these are some deer ribs that we have we have chest freezers full of deer meat. All right. We also, like, when you get a buck, we also do our own deer heads. So instead of paying and having somebody else do them, my boyfriend does his own deer heads. This is called a European mount, and he mounts his own on it. We have grinders and we have slicers, and so we make up our own ground meat. We make our own sliced steaks. We do a lot of our own stuff like that. Let me see what's in that. Yes. And Edward said he used the fat from his briskets and used the tallow afterwards. It works perfect and flavorful. Yes, it does. So we're pretty self-sufficient with this. Our family can pretty much uses about 5 deer a year. And very rarely do I buy red meat. I buy red meat when the kids say, please have some cow. That's about the only time that I actually get red meat. Otherwise, we eat a lot of deer. We eat deer, chicken, and pork a lot, and fish. All right. So there is some of I'm going to get into this a little bit in a second. Let me jump over here to I'm going to jump over here real quick into working. Chickens, there's a lot to chickens, so I kind of want to save that for last. So part of self-sufficiency is doing stuff on your own and doing stuff for yourself. So we do a lot of things here completely on our own. All right, so I was going to show you. It really messed me up that I can't. So down here is me fixing the dryer. So my boyfriend is a mechanic and fixes all kinds of stuff So I try to handle the inside appliances and the inside house stuff. So this is me fixing the dryer. I've taken this dryer apart and put it back together. I know it inside and out. I know the parts, the pieces, the tools, everything needed. Dryers, I will tell you, are the easiest appliance, in my opinion, to ever work on if you needed to figure out how to fix your dryer. All right, so there is that. I've also had my girls help me do that so they could learn. And see, I was going to do this through as a slide, but I can't. We have expanded our mechanic shop we have here on our property. So this is us. This is my oldest daughter out here working on that. This is my oldest and my youngest daughter working together over here, denailing boards because we get a lot of wood. Part of self-sufficiency is bartering or trading or finding things that people don't use anymore. And so for us, that's wood. Sometimes people are getting rid of scrap wood, getting rid of pallets, getting rid of different things. So we'll take them and then we get the nails out of them and stack them and do what we need to do. These are our poles that we painted. So we have the kids out here helping to paint and weatherproof some poles in the past. We have, I wanted to tell you about this right here. This is a foot to a well. This is what goes all the way down inside the well, and this gets primed, and this is where the water comes up from. So 2 Christmases ago, if you guys remember, if you're from this area, we had major Arctic winds like we're getting this next week, and our well, nothing froze, but our well lost its prime and wouldn't prime. Coming to find out, there's a rubber piece here failed. So I posted on Facebook Christmas Day, we have no water, or it was Christmas Eve. I said, we have no water, or anybody have this part? You know, anybody, I think it was Christmas Day. I said, we haven't had water for 24 hours. Anybody by any chance have a 1.5 inch well foot? And lo and behold, we live out in the country. One of our neighbors did, one of our friends did. And he came over on Christmas Day, we pulled the well all out and sure enough, put on the new foot and then had water. So it's the power of like working together and knowing your neighbor and doing for yourselves. So it's like really awesome to see. All right. We do a lot of house projects. We have an older house. So we did the floors earlier this year. So this is my son learning how to put down liquid nails and between plywood and doing the floors. We built him a little playground thing outside. So this was us putting together. This is actually, there was a palette that we got that it kind of inspired this whole project. So we tightened it all up and fixed it all together and built this out here. And I had slides from a previous thing, a previous playground that we got some slides and equipment from. And so we have this over here and this one is getting attached up there. So that was something we all did in one afternoon. We all got together and did it one afternoon. This is my son and his friend. His friend was over and we were painting. So we grabbed the boys a paintbrush and just said, here, paint, help us get everything done. All right. We use, so this is this year in the coop. Last year, remember I said there was that Arctic blast. And so a lot of stuff froze or there's a danger that pipes could freeze and bust. So this is inside our chicken coop. So this is us this year. We winterized the chicken coop. So all of the hoses that are out in our coop are all insulated and then taped over with tape to keep them safe from bursting. And we do actually shut the water off and drain the hoses anyway, but this is an extra precaution to make sure everything's well. We do a lot of projects around here. So this was some hex pipe that this is my boyfriend and my son is over here behind this over here. This is, and they were stretching out some piping to put back under the house to replace some PVC pipe that we decided we didn't want anymore. And we wanted to have this so that we know stuff is not going to freeze. This is my son working with tools on. This is a boat thing that we were redoing, stripping down. This is my mother is from Florida and she always wanted to be a snowbird. So she's got her RV up here on our property in Georgia. And so we built her a porch one year. So this is the only picture I have at the moment. I can't find the picture of us when it was finished. So she built we built her a huge porch on the front of her RV. so that she can sit and do all kinds of stuff. Part of homesteading is having friends over. This is our friend Daryl. He's a retired vet. He comes over here a lot and hangs out. And this is my son learning how to use one of the tools for it. Can you shut that? And we always have a little bit of time in here for playtime. All right. So one of the things I wanted to say in being self-sufficient, is we have a wood stove. We use a wood stove for heat. And here, hold on a second. Look out here, talk to Jason. Here, stop. Here. So we have a wood stove. So this is some of the wood we gathered this year. And I was gonna say, that's our wood stove over there. So I couldn't get another picture of it further out earlier. I was having a hard time. All right, one of the other projects that we did this year was, just to give you an example. Oh, dang it, you can't see that if I make it big, extra large. This is the front of the house, or really the side of the house, that's the front. We got this carport piece for $20 from somebody that was getting rid of stuff. And so we said, you know what, let's put that on the front of the house and make a porch. So for 20 bucks, and then we use cedar poles that we've had in the yard, that we've had on some trees and in the yard in the past, and put that up in the front, and I got metal, I think $300 worth of metal, and put a front awning on the house, a front porch on the house. So that's been a great addition that we've had this year. So that's something that you do based off of when you find stuff. I mean, for 20 bucks, sure, you know, that works. One of the coolest things that we've done is we have a processing room. So we did not start out I never thought that I would do this in my life, but we found on Marketplace, somebody was selling a cooler from a restaurant, a fast food restaurant, for like $200, I think, or $100. I think it was $100. So we went and picked it up, laid the concrete down, put the waterproofing, and here's getting the concrete forms done. I know they're not the greatest in order. Here's the finished product of the whole room. Here's cutting the hole for the air conditioner to go in. This is my son. I used it. His Easter egg hunt was part of it, was in there. When you do some of these projects, you pull together a community team. So this is the processing room here. And out here, we have another room. And so I had a couple of teenage guys come over to help us, because let me tell you, 60 to 80 pound bags of concrete are not light when you get older. So they helped us. We have our own mixer. They helped us pour and put down. This is before and this is after. And then we put in the walls over here for this other room in front of it. This is kind of like a room before the processing room to like put everything in. This is denailing some boards that we had. We had extra boards that we were given. So, and then this is that room outside the processing room that was built. All right, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to stop share, and then let me see if I can figure out if I can play this video, because I had some videos. What you figuring? Let me see if I can play this. Let me see if I can stop share and share screen. Yep. All right, so you should be able to see this. This is the door that we have on the outside. You walk in, this is that storage room that we built. We now have tables and we have a fridge in there. There should be no sound. All right, and then we open the door, and in there we have our processing room. So when we get deer, we have our place to do it. Our place to process deer at. Let me just tell you. I want to just point out. No. I can't stop it in the spot I want. This right here is called a cool bot. This is what made this completely necessary. The air conditioner we had to buy was about 300. This cool bot was about 350. This controls the temperature down to 35, 38 degrees. So this was a necessary piece. We did a lot of research and a lot of looking into it. This was a necessary piece for us to have in order to make this room as cold as it needs to be. All right. All right. So any questions on any of that real quick before I jump back in? I know I have a lot of pictures. I have a lot of stuff to tell you all. But jumping into having a processing room is not something I ever thought we would do. But stop. So let me go back over here to this. Now so there's our projects. That's a lot of the stuff we've done for working. All right. Boat. So this is just because, if you're gonna fish, you need to have a boat as well. So we have a couple of boats, I will say, but this one was the neatest one to share. So this is what this boat looked like before we got it. When we got it, it was an oversized canoe. And we did painting, all kinds of work on it. And this is what it looked like afterwards. I couldn't find a better picture. This is a fun picture. I put the mask on my son and had him hold this. This is when they painted the wheel wells of the boat. We have a lot of different tools. It's kind of necessary for a lot of the stuff that we do. And so this is the boat here, and this is the fish that we've caught with it from the lake. So, so it's just like kind of really neat to see, like, it looked like a oversized canoe, and now it's a boat with a 70 horsepower motor on it. And, really cool. The different things that we work on and do in here. All right, so I'm going to jump to these barking creatures over here. Any homestead, majority of the time, needs some dogs. So these are we have labs, and so this was a litter of puppies that we had last year or almost a year and a half ago. And what we did this last year is we actually fenced them in an area, although we have we have 2 acres, but we're bordered. We have a bunch of land around us so that the dogs don't roam all over the place or anything like that. Something you learn when you homestead or when you're self-sufficient is dogs are unpredictable. And so your livestock matters and is important. And you don't want them roaming to other people's property and killing a chicken or killing a goat or killing anything, because then technically you're responsible for repaying them with their loss of livestock. So our dogs don't mingle with our chickens, just out of just habit of we don't do that. So we had some young boys again come over and help us get this fence put up. We fenced in a good size part of the back for them and put a doggy door, which is sitting right behind me over here, and it's half open. And the cold air is coming in through it. So now I have to stop breathe. So we have 3 labs, and my son, when he went to school, one of my favorite things to do was to take pictures, morning pictures of the sunrise. So I put those in there. This one was one of my favorite shots I took, and this one, and so I threw those in there because they're really pretty. This gives you an idea of what our back looks like, what our backyard and side yard look like. You see, this used to be a bunch of pine trees, and our neighbor logged them when pine was high. And so we have a bunch of brush back here now. And so they pretty much alert us if somebody pulls up in the yard. We have business here, we have customers' cars here, we have all sorts of things going on here. So they alert us when something is going on. So that's kind of like dogs serve a purpose on a homestead or self-sufficient way of living. There's a purpose for them. These labs too could probably be trained to help with with things as well, like hunting and different things too. So let me quick go into, I'm going to just show you, stop. I'm just going to show you what happens when you start becoming self-sufficient. This is my son's ag day. The school over here does an ag day. And so this is their field, and they had all the parents that have animals and have livestock line up here. And so I said, oh, yeah, we could do that. And wait, I never did an ag day before. I'm a city girl. This is kind of fun and interesting. So we brought a rabbit and we brought a duck. And we let the animals, the kids pet them all. And it was kind of cool because still, even though we live in a primarily agricultural area, there are some kids that have never petted a duck and they've never petted a rabbit. And they learned a little bit about each of them. And it was very cool. They had a great day. Yes, Edward said, learning how to repurpose things rather than throwing them out is one key thing of self-sufficiency and what I learned from my dad. The pop-ups are right next to the ad below me on the page, so it's kind of tough for me to see when a comment comes in. But yes, so learning how to repurpose things, we do that a lot around here. We keep a lot of extra things. My boyfriend has built his own tools for the mechanic shop instead of buying them because it's just been easier to build it and to know what we have. All right, so let me just go into poultry. Really wish I could have made this all bigger. All right, so we have chickens and ducks, and we started out with chickens, and chickens they call the gateway animal to farming. So we ended up with ducks and rabbits too. So this is our chickens. We free range them during the day. These are our ducks out here in the back. This is an older picture. This is a little bit older picture. We had a coop in the back of our property near where all the pines were logged. And then we realized that that was not a good spot. You could hear the coyotes at night, and we don't want to wake up to having no chickens. So we moved the chickens from the back up to the front of our property, on the front side of our property. So just some fun pictures. My son loves to grab the animals and hold them. So this is him with one of the ducks. This is him with the chickens. This is how it is nowadays. You want to say, forget the flowers, times have changed. This is, we have chickens that get broody, and it's what it's called. When you go in to go reach for eggs from the chickens, and they want to peck at you and they don't want you near them, and you go in a couple of times that day and you've seen them sitting in the same eggs and they won't let you near them, that means they've gone broody, and that means they want to hatch those eggs. So we've hatched quite a few. These are ducks that we hatched. This is the dad of the ducks. So we took them outside one day, and my kids were introducing the dad to his children, and so that they could see the other ducks. Sometimes it is very important for chicks to learn how to peck at their food, and it's kind of important for ducks to see other ducks, for them to know their creature and to know how they are to act as an animal. So this is my daughter at the post office picking up her ducks. This is our ducks in our brooder that we had in the house for a bit. I will let you know, if you do want ducks, they are quite messy. You just have to commit to the mess. We've gotten ducks in the past from people that ducklings that they got them, they thought they were going to be great, and then they realized they couldn't do it. And so we've taken them. These are some of the chicks that we hatched last year. These are the ducks when they were outside. They, when they get feathered, they can go outside. This right here is how you can tell this is a rooster. So the way they stand up completely straight is a rooster. Here's our mama hen. She likes to hatch. She goes broody often, and she likes to hatch. So this is her on a perch with all of her babies below her, keeping them warm. This is our goose. This is Marina with her goose. This is the geese here. As they get bigger and bigger. This is my son with one of our Indian runner ducks. We have different breeds. This is another goose picture here. So this is before and then after. And this is her when she was like 7 or 8 years old as well, holding chickens at a friend's house. So I put those in there, like side by side. This is our mama hens. When they have their chicks, when they're sitting on eggs, we move them to a separate area so that they get undisturbed. And also other chickens don't lay eggs underneath them because that's what they will do. And they'll end up being like 40 eggs that they're sitting on and only 4 will hatch kind of thing. So we have a separate coop area for them. Right, here we are. Here's Michaela with one of the ducks that she picked up. This is going out to feed everybody in the morning. This is a new coop that we had built when we did that. And so this is everybody getting their duck feed. This is chickens sunbathing. A lot of times they look like they died out there, but they're really sunbathing. This is at night. There's a door over here that we have. Here's the paddle for it. There's a door here. Sometimes everybody doesn't want to go in their coop at night. Chickens and ducks will go into their coop at night. So when you first get them, you put them in their coop for about a week. You don't let them out. And then that's why they know where home is. And then we usually let them out around 3 in the afternoon for them to free range for the afternoon. And when it starts getting dusk is when they all head back in. Sometimes like ducks spook easily. So if something is different in their environment, they abandon all reason. And so this was one night I was outside and they were not in yet. So I shined the light on where the door was and they all head to the door. All right, this is my son holding one of the ducks as it's grown. This is one of our pecans that's grown. And then this was second grade, his first day of homeschool, second grade. I got him 3 Easter egger chickens. Those are the ones that lay the blue-green eggs. So these were 2 of our mamas. They almost never do this, hatch babies side by side. They took turns sitting on each other's nests. So one could get up and they will get up about once a day and eat and drink and poop when they're sitting on a nest. They don't do that often. All right, and then here's our ducks outside. This is my mother helping me. When you have animals, you start learning how to take care of them if they get sick. And so this was us taking care of one of these chickens that got sick a couple years ago. They get upper respiratory infections very easily. So you have to learn how to take care of them and how to do it without antibiotics, I will say, because sometimes there's an overuse of antibiotics and you have to learn other ways to help them without antibiotics. All right, so this is just one of our chickens here, and this is Marina. She's holding her chickens, and then here's the ducks outside free ranging. This was ducklings and the geese when they were younger, and this is sometimes the animals go first in the morning, so this is bathrobes. Sometimes we're just out in a bathrobe quick and feeding everybody and giving everybody water. And these are my son's chickens that he got for second grade. Any chicken questions? Any chicken questions? Let me look. Because chickens, there's a lot of groups on Facebook you can become a part of. I want to go into Coop Life here. I did, sorry, force a habit to pick a picture and make it bigger. So first thing that you need to know about Coop Life is you need to have separate shoes to wear in the coop. You do not wear shoes that are your everyday shoes because you have to pay attention to cross-contamination and to biological organisms. So if you go visit a friend's house that has chickens, you want to make sure you wash off your shoes before you come back to your house with your chickens because you don't want to spread disease and between chickens because that can happen very easily. So we have either our own Crocs or in the winter we have these are not real Crocs, these are fake Crocs. In the winter we have boots that we wear out in the coop. This right here is our old coop. This is built in the wall of our woodshed. And we have these nesting boxes and then we built out 8 feet and did chicken wire around it. This is another old coop that we had. This is stuff I'm saying we had out back. This had our ducks in it. We repurposed trampolines for a time. This right here had a coop. This coop right here had a hole in the side and it had a trampoline encased in it so that they could have a run area to run around if they didn't come out that day. All right, and this was with ducks. We had a playhouse and that's where the ducks went at night. And during the day, they were in here until we let them out during the day to free range. All right. This is something that you have to worry about when you have animals. Some people want backyard chickens and they want to have them in a small little backyard. You can have 2 or 3. Chickens need to be in more than one. So you can sometimes have 2 or 3, but you do need to know that you will attract flies in the summer. All right. So this was my attempt at which bag was the better buy. And from everything we've done, these bags right here, these fly traps work the best. They had the most versus this one. This one did not get as many. So this is stuff that you start doing when you have your own animals, is paying attention to which is the better item. We buy about 6 or 8 of these during the summer and use them all summer long. All right, this is the duck coop. This is Michaela and Liam holding the ducks in the duck coop. And you can see when you repurpose a trampoline, it's okay, but you can't stand up in it. So it's a little annoying. All right, this was our old coop right here in the center. This was our old coop that we did a PVC pipe for a feeder. So we cut that in half and put some wood that we had around it laying around on the edges and made that stand up. And that is our chicken feeder. It still is our chicken feeder. It's like a 2-inch PVC pipe cut in half so that they can have a trowel to eat out of. And when we decided to build a new coop, this was the first pole that went up. This is our shop, our mechanic shop here. And this is our first pole that went up. And in one day, we went from that to this. So we used our extra roof material that we had on its side. We had chicken wire up here. There's concrete all down here along the edge, so nothing can dig in. And this is one of those, if you see those ads for those tarps that you can buy, I bought one of those because I thought it might be a good idea to have one. So we ended up using that for a roof. Now the first year we'd roll this tarp down. I had hooks in the bottom here, and it kept the coop wind free and it closed it all up for wintertime. So we started with that. This was all built in one day. We have extra coops. We have extra cages around. We have extra cages when you have livestock, when you have, not chickens are not livestock, but when you have animals like this, you need to have something for quarantine, because if you get one that's sick, it needs to quarantine away. So we have about 3 or 4 of these pens. One's for rabbits, one's for, sometimes if you have a broody hen, she goes in another pen. So you not only need to have your coop and a run, but you also need to have like a place for quarantine or to separate. Like we've had extra roosters and we've had them all in different pens, all kinds of different things going. So it helps to have extra space for things. All right, this is our pool after it rained for the ducks and the geese for the swimming. I'm gonna just tell you, many people have tried. Ducks and geese are messy. They poop in their water. You can give them clean water in 30 minutes. It's gonna be yucky and nasty. Many people I've seen have tried to build something better and use a pump, and very few have actually attained a pump strong enough to pump the water, and they've all reverted back to the blue kiddie pool. So we have just kind of stuck with this. And I have seen where people have made a spigot at the bottom that they can open up, that they can drain it easier. That's going to be in the works for our next one. But it just becomes, people go back to this. So I've seen people build ponds, I've seen people do stuff, but they get yucky and nasty and it become a lot of work for them to clean it. And this, you just literally dump it. The ground below it's going to dry, and the ducks love to dig in that mud anyway, and just let them have at it. It's just not worth it sometimes. All right, so this is what we did is we added, remember where that tarp was and it rolled down was over here on this side. What we did is we added these cypress poles and cedar poles from our cedar poles and different poles that we've had out there. We extended the tarp out and we built this huge enclosure here. So this is all a huge run. All right, and so now you can see the tarp is fully extended out, and we've got so now if it pours and rains, we can still go out there and stay mostly dry. So now we have our quarantine pen. We have another one over here. We have a rabbit pen and stuff like that. So now we have this much bigger area. We have actually now since then gone in and added PVC pipe on top of these poles. We've extended the net up higher because some of the chickens were really good flyers and would fly out. And we've also added some netting across and some zigzag wires across to keep any hawks or anything out so that the animals are actually out. Oh, so let's see. I'm just gonna go look at the, all right. Thank you, Marina. When I learned you have to go away from me to go to Home Depot. We live at Home Depot. So we really do. This is inside our new coop that we built. We bought some of these from a chicken house that was going out of town, out of business. So we bought them, cleaned them, sterilized them, and I've put them in. This is my son with one of our rabbits. We have our water containers strategically placed so that they get the rainwater, and it helps to fill them up. It's been really useful this past week. We've put some things in here, like over here we have the big tire on its side, and I have branches and all kinds of stuff in the coop so that it kind of gives the animals something to hide under if they need to, some stuff to jump around on. So whenever a branch falls down, we always carry it into the coop and put it in there. Here's our rabbits, and now they've taken over the house and they have their play yard around them. So the rabbits do great in here. We're going to start building them a real fence around their little house. Something that you need to know, this is me disposing of a snake. So you have chickens, you have eggs, and you will get snakes. So you do need to make sure that you have a way to get them up. Jason will pick them up and put them in a pillowcase, and or I have to hold the pillowcase open. He puts the snake in it. I close it up and throw it in the car. And when I'm traveling greater than 3 or 4 miles out of our area, we let the snake go in a wooded area somewhere else. If you relocate the snake to the side of your property, it's going to come back. If you relocate it down the road, it's going to come back. You have to go farther out. So that's what I end up doing. And untie the bag, grab the edge of it, and then go the other direction. So this is baby mice that were found in the coop one time. Just so you know, you're going to come across that because mice like to come and eat the corn or the feed. And so those sometimes just become protein snacks for chickens or whatever you feel like you can do with them. This is my daughter out in the coop one day. So she gave me this picture because it shows the back side of it. We have the feed barrels here and stuff like that. She had me put this picture in here because this is a tree above it fell down, and so we had to get the branch off it. So you have to use some kind of knowledge and ingenuity sometimes. Yes, coyotes. You were asking about coyotes. We do have some coyotes around here. So we haven't had any come on here, but you can hear them sometimes outside. We have not had, only predators we've had is like 2 hawks so far. All right, so I'm gonna go, I'm not gonna be able to show you these pictures a lot, but I'm gonna stop sharing for a second and shoot, I'm gonna screen share and I'm gonna pull this up and I'm gonna pause it, stop share, and screen share media player. Right, this was a tour of the inside of the coop. So we have an automatic water, and then this is a hack that I learned. This is where they roost at night, and people, when they roost at night, they poop. And so you put those feed bags underneath there and it catches a lot of it. So there's their feed trough, and then that's where they lay their eggs. So you can see the inside. And then no, we have a sink. We have a sink that goes to the outside. We use a hose. So this is our little coop where some like to lay in there. And then we have extra pens in here. Like this is when we had the ducklings and they were in a little pen in there, but we have different pens lying around. There's our hose. We use the curly hose. It helps the most. And then we have different things in there for them to run around in. This is when we didn't have the outside, and so we had that container in there for the ducks to swim in when they were inside. And you can see in the back there, we had our other coop, our other pen. There's quarantine pens out there. There's the little house out there. There was another pen over there, so that we had stuff in different areas. All right, so I figured I'd just show you that. All right. So you can, so Donna, your question was, can you can everything with a pressure can, or do you need a water bath can or two? I have not really used my pressure canner yet. I do have one. Water bath canning is for things that have some acidity to them. So that's why, like, you can water bath can some fruit. There's a list, but you can, I think you can pressure can those as well. I do think so. I don't know entirely, but I do think so. So I think you can use that as well. So I can't really share any of that with you. I was going to show you the video of the ducks and everybody playing. Screen share. Go back to this. Share. All right. Let me go back to my screen. Hold on. This is it. This is what I was sharing. All right. Stop and screen share again. Here's my slides, my pictures. All right. I want to show you eggs. So we get a lot of eggs. This is a picture of, let me just go to view, extra large. This is a picture of all the different colors that eggs can come into. This is not our picture. This is, my daughter gave me this from a page that she was on. So this is all the different colors that you can get of eggs. So there's some chicks that we've hatched. I think I had that picture already. This is my son. One of his jobs is to wash the eggs. We have our candler's license. So we have to wash eggs and candle them. So this is like a week's worth of eggs here that we've washed in the past. This is what, when a chicken first lays, they lay a small egg. So that's how you know somebody else in the coop is starting to lay now. And a lot of people will call these fairy eggs because they're so small, but this is the regular size. This is, I think, but this is not a regular size. Usually there's no yolk in there. Usually it's a, it's a small little something. All right, so sometimes you get so many eggs and you run out of ideas for end of the year gifts. So this is my son last year with his first grade teacher, and he said, "Thank you for an excellent year," and gave her a dozen eggs. And I think, considering eggs were like not cheap last year, that was probably a really good gift to give her. So we have hatched. It's a lot of work. So we have an incubator, and we've hatched chickens, and we've hatched ducks. This is our duck brooder, how we've set up ducks when they get a little bit bigger. This is the first brooder when they need heat, and for about a week or two they need heat, and before they outgrow, when they outgrow that, we moved them into this. We built this up for them. This was a lot of work to clean. This is why we candle eggs, because this one is not suitable for selling. You can see the veins that are in it, so that's why we candle those. These are the ducks when we first got them. There's the little duckies there. What? Yeah, right. So this, I'm gonna, oh, gosh, there are videos. I'm gonna share this one. I think this one has the most movement. So let me open it up. Let me pause it. Okay, okay. So let me stop, share, and share screen. All right, so this is, you can see the movement inside the egg. This is something that we do to check our eggs to make sure that the ones that we're hatching are viable. And then there are charts online that you can look up, and you can kind of see how many days along this egg is based on the development that you see inside of it. So it really is kind of cool to watch. Something really important to keep in mind is that chickens are not mammals. Um, I know it might sound silly, but that that is when you are taking care of them when they're sick, they're not mammals. They don't respond the same way to things as we do because we are mammals. So I'm going to show you this. This is why we candle eggs. Every egg that we sell here has to be candled. This egg looked normal under regular light, but when you put it up to the flashlight, you can see the cracks in it. So this was a pretty drastic one, just so you can see, but that's why when we candle eggs, we look for cracks. Any kind of crack, we look to make sure there's an air sac on one end and that there's nothing extra floating around in there. Because believe it or not, sometimes there's extra things that can be floating around in there that your commercial store-bought eggs don't have. So that's something just not everybody knows. All right, so let's see. I did hatching, I did eggs, I did hatching. All right, deer, coop life, canning, ag life, poultry. I want to just share this one thing that's kind of important. When you start taking on animals, this is my friend Bethany. She's become my friend because every time we get to meet up, it's because one of my chickens has died. And this is Georgia Poultry Lab Network. They're in Georgia. They're in Gainesville, Georgia, over here, and they do free necropsies for backyard flocks. So every time a chicken of mine dies, it goes to Bethany, and she takes it into the lab over here, and they dissect it and they necropsy it, and they give me a full report on why it died. It's responsible ownership when you have animals to know, to make sure that you know if it was something that you need to change in your practices, or if you need to, or if it's the animal. And I've had a few that died from an enlarged heart, or from an enlarged colon, or funky stuff. I've had some that had died from masses inside internally, because some breeds, like white leghorn breeds, tend to have more cancer issues. I've had Isa Browns die from enlarged ovaries, and that's because that breed tends to have laying issues. So you learn things as you go, but it's a responsible thing. So this right here, and you can't see it large, this is the state of Georgia. Georgia's agriculture, chicken make up 50% of Georgia's ag. So chicken here is very vital. And so this is where he's pointing on the map, is where we live. This is all of the chicken houses in the area that surround us. So this is, every dot represents a chicken house. So this is, or chicken farm. So this is how vital chicken is to this area. And so this is kind of why it's important that I, as a backyard flock owner, take the responsibility to have my chickens necropsied to know what they died from, because avian bird flu or anything that could go around that could affect the entire poultry industry needs to be known. All right, so I just want to mention that. So it's kind of good to know this and to create some partnerships with some different organizations as well. I was going to just share, let me go back and let me make this bigger for a second. I bet you this is because, I know it's because I have media player, but this is the image that you all couldn't see before. So I wanted to share it now. And so this is the image that I was trying to share earlier about Victory Gardens. So for a family of 5, and what it's involved in. And this was something that was sent out many, many years ago by the government. So it's just kind of interesting to see all the different vegetables and how many and how far apart your rows should be and things like that. So I just thought I'd share that so that you guys can see that, because I thought that was kind of cool. All right, so questions. Did I see I can't go left or right? If I could have gone left or right and shared the next screen, that would have been great. Questions. I'm like, oof, 30 minutes over. So, questions or thoughts, like, did I give you all way too much information? Does it help? Biggest information sometimes that you need to know is everybody's self-sufficient way is different. So you all complement each other. Some people are self-sufficient and they go buy all their own materials and they build $500 coops and they build $1,000 coops and they paint them and they do all this stuff. We use what we have. We buy very little. We trade and barter for different things. We do our best to make it work with what we've got and to try some different ingenuity stuff. So we are not so much about looks, is more about function. And sometimes people will post in some of the chicken groups, like, just show me your regular coops, because some people will show all their fancy stuff. So your way of being self-sufficient does not have to look pretty. Right. I just want you to know, like, the pressure canner that I have is like 30 years old. Somebody gave me, it has a different thing. I mean, it's beat up, but it doesn't have to look like the nice Instapot and have me like pressure can with an Instapot, so you can do your own thing and not be afraid of how it looks, because some people tend to get that way. They want it to make sure it looks good. So it's not entirely necessary as long as it functions for you. That's what's important. I was gonna share. I'm gonna just show you any questions anybody has. You're welcome, Donna. Next month, our self-sufficiency class is going to be, there's a person in Greenville that does, has a book and has all sorts of things, very interesting. I'm sure it's going to be a lot more upfront capital that you'd have to invest in stuff to become self-sufficient. We kind of like go the backwards way of like, we're going to do it as inexpensively as possible and research it and figure stuff out. And every homesteader is different. Every person that's self-sufficient is different. So I wanted to share this. I thought, because I can't share a ton of stuff, but you should be able to see. Oh, I know what I'll do. I'll just go view extra large icons. So this is my son learning how to shoot his little BB gun. And so we have guns here, we hunt, we do things. Many of ours, we have rifles, they're for protection. And when a snake is eating your favorite chicken, you will want to use it. So I have learned that I can just even have this little tiny Red Ryder BB gun, and that can go right up to a snake and the snake is done. So there are times that you need something like this because you want to protect your wildlife. You want it, not your wildlife. You want to protect your flock from wildlife. So you have to be, this is part of it. So we had one snake go in there and eat our favorite broody chicken that she hatched all of our babies, and she ate her baby too. So it was not pleasant. This is us just having fun. When we get a lot of rain, sometimes we're working on a project and there's a lot of mud. This is the Georgia red clay that they talk about. So this was fishing. So this is my son and Jason, and they're fishing, and the fish that they caught. This was when we were in Florida. We were fishing and they caught little sharks. So I'm sorry, my oldest caught the shark. Yes. So I just figured I'd show that, but I just want to let you know, like, you do have to come up with a plan. If you don't have something of a way that you would protect your flock from a raccoon or a possum, or I don't know, anything that, or coyote that could get out there and go get them, because they are prey animals. So they are prey animals. So all right, that is it. I am done. Any questions? Any thoughts anybody has? Dorian, anything that you thought of, or did I how did every week, every month is going to be a whole different subject and topic. I just wanted to go over this one because this one tends to be kind of popular with chickens and things like that. So if nobody has any thoughts or questions, it's 12:30 Eastern time. So I want to go ahead and end this for us so that everybody can get going with the rest of their day. Sorry I kept you so much longer. I know there's a lot of information. You can go back and watch the video, and you can always reach out to me and ask me any questions if you have any need. So anybody, if you joined us later, I know I was sharing a bunch of stuff. Can you please drop in the chat where you're from? Because we try to keep track of what countries we have people coming from and what parts of the US, since we have expanded to the entire to the US through Zoom. So we just kind of try to keep track of that. So if you could drop in the chat. Oh, Wisconsin, very cool. And if you, so anybody else that's joined us, if you could drop in the chat and let us know where you're from, that'd be great. All right, and then Ireland. Do they don't have coyotes in Ireland? Yes. This will be available to rewatch. I'm gonna shut it off here in a minute, and hold on. I'm gonna have this on our YouTube channel, and we will be able to rewatch this. You'll be able to rewatch this later, and it'll be on there like tomorrow. All right, and then let me just go up here to our chat. Any other thoughts or questions anybody has? I know I went through a lot of stuff, and so I know sometimes I tend to give information overload. So I just want to check and make sure. Otherwise, we will see you next month. Oh, Greenwich, Connecticut. Greenwich, Connecticut. Awesome. Thank you. All right. So you guys have a great afternoon and have a great Saturday and enjoy your weekend. All right.